All right, everyone, back with me are Katie Phang, Melissa Murray, Harry Litman, and Joyce Vance. Let me go to you first, Katie, because they are back. Mr. Steinglass has resumed his close. Tell us what we are hearing.
Yeah, so we're at the point where the prosecution, through Joshua Steinglass, is explaining to the jury, quote, there's just no way that Cohen wouldn't have told Mr. Trump about Daniels. Why wouldn't he have? And that really speaks to this idea that Cohen was rogue and he went off on his own to be able to save the day for his great hero of Donald Trump. But Steinglass has made clear throughout the course of this trial, not just today in the closing arguments, that Cohen did everything at the direction of and for the benefit of Donald Trump, which kind of feeds into the motive of why he's frustrated, right? There was a humanization of Michael Cohen that's happened throughout the course of this trial. And Melissa noted it before we took the break. You know, when you take a person like Michael Cohen, and even Steinglass said he's flawed. He's flawed. And we've talked about this before, how Trump actually picked a lawyer who wasn't good.
Yeah, they said they didn't pick him. Yeah. This is who he picked to handle his business.
Because he knew that Cohen would be the kind of person who would do it,
He wanted to take a bullet for Trump.
Yes.
And so he's the kind of person who would take out a HELOC on his own home with his wife, you know, financially putting himself in jeopardy, give that money to a third party he didn't sleep with. Yeah. And then, he wanted it back, and they gave it to him, they plussed it up. This is so simple. This is the problem with this case to me, is that it's so simple and common sense, and I have not heard anyone refute it. The end. I have not heard anyone refute it. Let me go to something else here. Todd Blanche, let's go back to him and his closing argument. He said this: you cannot send someone to prison based on the words of Michael Cohen. Merchan got very upset. And he said, I think that statement was outrageous, Mr. Blanche. It's simply not allowed, period. It's hard for me to imagine how that was accidental in any way. The jury doesn't determine punishment. It's not them that does that. Then Merchan tells the jury to disregard Blanche's improper prison comment. Judge Merchan, if there is a verdict of guilty, it will be up to me to impose a sentence. A prison sentence is not required in the event of a guilty verdict. This is unusual. Todd Blanche knows better.
Todd Blanche definitely knows better, and this was not inadvertent. This was not a mistake. He wanted this out there. And again, it's this idea of playing on the jury's sympathy. You don't want this guy to go to jail for this. And the thing of it is that the jury never gets to decide what the actual sentence is. The jury can determine guilt. It's a fact finder, but it doesn't ultimately determine punishment. As the judge said today, that's his job, and it's an open question whether, in the event of a conviction, Juan Merchan is going to sentence Donald Trump to time in prison. But ultimately, it is not a consideration that the jury is supposed to take into account. And Todd Blanche, a former prosecutor,
he knows that.
And Harry Litman, you know, it is not lost on me that Todd Blanche took that chance, probably because Donald Trump wanted him to, with even Tiffany Trump there. Two Trump sons are in the courtroom, along with Tiffany Trump, who I'm not even sure I was shocked when one of the pieces of evidence was that he had her number in his phone. Wasn't aware that they were in that kind of touch with one another. But the fact that there are three Trump adult children in the room does seem theatrically performative.
Yeah, and there's a couple more points to be made. First, the curative instruction you just instructed. Merchan says there may not be prison for this crime. You wouldn't normally tell a jury that.
Right.
You would just say disregard punishment. But he had so led with his chin, and Merchan was so livid that he did that. And second, to Melissa's point, I agree. It's fundamental, and it speaks, I think, a little bit of desperation. The idea is to try to gin up a hung jury or some kind of person to have sympathy. If you thought you had a decent shot at a hung jury without that, I don't think you would engender the judge's ire in that way.
And Joyce, it sounds like something you say when you think your client is going to get convicted. It sounds like you think he's going to lose.
Yeah. Don't send him to prison, please. I think that's right.
Joyce?
Sorry, go ahead.
It comes across that way in large part. Look, the first line of defense for Trump's lawyers is to hope someone on the jury will believe the government failed to meet its burden of proof of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. They just want the acquittal. They simply want to live to fight another day at this point in time. But the problem is, when that's your strategy, you do end up exposing a little bit of your soft underbelly to the jury. And this jury seems very engaged. You know, the judge noted that when the arguments went on for this extended period of time that they've gone on for, it was smart for the judge to do that. It helps to preserve an error-free record for the appeal, but it also does show that this jury is meticulously following along, that even at this late hour, they are tracking with the evidence. And it's not lost upon them that Trump's lawyers have skirted some of the most important issues, the exhibits Katie was talking about, the failure to confront the details of Michael Cohen's testimony. And something that I think is surprising to all of us here and that shows that desperation is you would have expected them to parse through Michael Cohen's lies. If there were going to be 10 reasons that the government failed to provide proof beyond a reasonable doubt, they should have all been Michael Cohen's lies. And at the end of the day, they weren't. That's what the defense is riding on, and they simply seem to have failed to pull it off.
Katie, you're giving an amen there. I see your amen.
Because Blanche ended with 10 reasons why you should acquit my client. He should have started with that damn thing from the beginning. Right. 2.5 hours later, he finally gets to it. But all of it, to Joyce's point, is if there was really just one person and the linchpin to the prosecution's success was Michael Cohen, why not reel off all the times that he lied, right, or that he was dishonest? But the fact that you have to attack 10 different fronts shows that the defense is desperate because they know that they have exposure on so many different fronts, and that's the reason why they're doing the 10. But Blanche doesn't have the he doesn't have it's not the gravitas. It's just more, there's nothing likable about him. Like, you're not rooting for him in any way. So when he speaks, you're like, okay, buddy, let's go. But with Steinglass, even though we're logging 4+ hours now, you're like, okay, we're getting there because he's methodically taking apart anything that the defense thought was going to win the day.
I want to go